Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurfarhana binti Ahmad Fuad. So today I will explain about the introduction of our case study. So in our case study, we are talking about Perrier mineral water bottles. So Perrier is actually a brand name of mineral water bottles that have been founded from French country. Okay, so in 1863, so this Perrier was first being introduced in Britain, and later in the year of 1898, Perrier mineral water bottles have been bought by by doctor named Louis Perrier, who bought it and start to operate a commercial spa regarding Perrier mineral water bottle. So these water bottles later was sold to someone who named John Hemsworth, who actually a younger brother of newspaper magnates during that time, which is Lord Northcliffe and Lord Rodney. Okay, and then in the journey of Hemsworth, so he actually owned the mineral water bottles, and then since he think that the commercial spa that been created by Dr. Lewis have been unfashionable, so he start to rename the spring water bottles into Source Perrier, and start to bottling the water, which we know nowadays in green bottles and in Indian club shapes, which is actually it's a shape of Indian clubs when Hemsworth doing his exercise. So at that time, Hemsworth decide to market regarding the Perrier, and then he also advertised it in the newspaper, which called Daily Mail, in order to establish the brand. So most of it, as a result, 95% of the sales will come from Britain and also the sales in US. However, in 1990, Perrier's reputations for purity suffered a blow, which ultimately led to the worldwide withdrawal of the product, which include 160 million bottles of Perrier, which worth of $40 million in loss, because this has happened when they start to mention about they detect an abnormal trace of benzene, okay, a carcinogen, in several water bottles of Perrier. So starting from then, Perrier start to decline markedly, and 2 years later, in 1992, Perrier was bought by Nestle company, which then in 2004, the crisis erupt another one more time when Nestle announced a restructuring plan for Perrier in order to help restructuring due to a failure to consult adequately with staff, so that Perrier will still continue to make a productions.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nasruddin binti Syafiq, and I will present about the key elements of the resistance to change based on the problems Perrier case study. This article demonstrates change agents must always anticipate the reality that some individuals in the company are always on the lookout for results to validate their resistance to the desired changes. In this case, the very concept of downsizing to increase productivity appear to frighten people to the core, signaling that either management did not convey the plan well or the employees were reluctant to accept. Second, it appears that the acquisition problem did not sit well with the employees, and as a result, many look to be protesting Nestle, the corporation, rather than the measures put in place by management. The CGT union must be mentioned as another significant element that vigorously opposed the proposed reforms. In this case, the union might be accused of impeding Nestle's efforts to improve its financial performance. Other aspects appear to include employee dissatisfaction with the organization's lack of profit, a trapped manufacturing environment with all the signs of a power station, and a clear communication breakdown between management and employees, as seen in the bed of rough water crisis. As a result, opposition to the anticipated adjustment was unavoidable given the particular conditions of the project or initiative. A change management plan defines the technique necessary to handle certain organizational changes. In Perrier's situation, it is critical to develop a change management approach that addresses the aforementioned reasons for resistance. As a result, Perrier's initial step is to do a situational awareness study. The change team must first comprehend the anticipated changes, including their scope, nature, and significance. In doing so, the team must consider how many people will be affected, as well as if organizational processes, systems, procedures, or job responsibilities will be altered. The timetable for the anticipated improvements should also be specified. Following that, the team must make a concerted effort to comprehend the personnel affected by the organizational modifications to the enterprise history and culture. The team must next figure out the reasons for the need to make the proposed changes, as well as review how previous changes were managed and if personnel supports the organization's vision. The map should then indicate who will be affected and how the changes will affect them.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nusha Sonri, so I will continue to the next part. The second phase comprises building a supporting structure. The change management team must identify the employee who will be in the charge of enabling the change inside the company at this point. By giving responsibility and resources to change implementer, the team must be expert and make smart selections. Change management team should be engaged in intercepting resistance by assessing how the proposed change will be affected various departments and group, as well as how the department and group will be viewed in the change. So as a result, it is critical to establish certain method for dealing with oppositions. The employee management is one of the techniques that has been shown to be beneficial in resolving changes of change resistance. Real employee must be included in the transition process, and management must be communicate the reason for downsizing to them. The second technique comprises informing employee is about the significance of upcoming changes. The employee at the Perrier may be less resistant if they fulfill the comprehend the consequences of opposing the project changes. Third, management must be implement an open communication policy in which employees are allowed to request whatever information or explanation they consider necessary from the management. Open door policy during time of change implementation not only decrease employee uncertainty but also let them feel charge of whatever is going on the business. Management must only deal with modifications that are deemed necessary for the organization's good operations. Such change must be disclosed in advance so that the staff may make the required of adjustment. Employees may be able to refrain from rejecting change if they are aware that they are not merely players on the chessboard of restructuring attempts.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Intan. I'm going to continue the next question. So according to the article, Problems at Perrier, the situation requires a change management strategy to address. So we have recently and in the past seen companies lose their reputation, and rather than attempting to repair it, they create a new identity. So to deal with this situation, we would employ a situational approach. So these are the 6 proposed resistance management methods, which should be chosen based on the contextual factors. So number 1 is educational and communication. So the resistance stems from a lack of knowledge. There is a need to communicate with and educate employees about the current changes in Perrier. Number 2 is involvement and participation. This resistance is a reaction to sense of exclusion from the process. So more involvement of all employees is required. If they are involved and get involved in organizations' activities or situation, they are more likely to be open and want a better change rather than resist the change. So the third one is facilitation and support. Anxiety and uncertainty can cause resistance. So being supportive during the difficult times will help to avoid potential worker resistance. So there may be also a need to use specialized training and counseling outside of the normal office hour. Negotiation and agreement. So the resistors are in a strong position to stymie the change process. So Perrier's organization should provide incentives to employees so that they do not resist change or can reduce their resistance to change. Number 5 is manipulation and cooperation. Because other methods are too time-consuming or resource-intensive, it is best to choose the leader of the resistance, and work with him to understand his and his co-workers' position. Last but not least, number 6 is explicit and implicit coercion, the context in which change recipients have little ability to resist. The organization's survival is seriously compromised in the absence of change. So this would be the final stand, and the employees would be forced to accept the change. It is very important, it is critical to identify those who are opposing such action, because they are not providing good teamwork for Perrier. So for these 6 methods, we would start with number 1 and work our way down until number 6. So that is all from me. The next slide will be presented by Umi. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nur Umi Shafiqah, so I would like to explain the managerial system. As we know, if an organization need to do their change, they need to plan as well as based on their crisis in the organization. So here, there are 5 points to overcome the managerial system. First of all, an organization must identify cause to resistance to change. Okay, normally, if an organization wants to change, this is because there is a crisis in the organization. So they need to identify the actual cause that they need to plan the resistance to change. Second, they need to overcome the resistance to change. Okay, which is every workers or every staff in or every department, they need to plan what is the solution or what is the steps to overcome the resistance to change. And the third is identify the root cause of resistance. They should know what is the root or is the root of the crisis there is cause of resistance. And then fourth, involve senior leader, which is they need to plan together with their senior leader, which is normally the senior leader will guide their staff to find the solution to overcome the resistance to change. And the last one, communicate the change, which is communication is important key to we overcome the crisis or the solution. So which is every staff or every group members, they need to contribute their ideas or their plans how to manage the problem or crisis in the organization. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So as a conclusion, managing change is very vital despite of types of companies or type of industries. Since we know that the industries will keep evolving, so that's why the company also will constantly experience change. Therefore, despite the resistance, so we are suggested not to underestimate the support of employees to the changes process and to manage the resistant change in order to minimize any impact that can happen towards the company. Therefore, last but not least, anyone that involved in managing changes, whether personal or organizations, it is a challenge to identify the resistance, but in support, in order to make sure that the company keeps on growing and have a successful future, so it is vital to maintain a positive managing changes throughout the process. That's all. Thank you.